welcome to History of American Government Lecture 1. This is Mr. Kopetsky. It is 2016-2017, and this is our first unit on political ideology. So let's get started. Ideology is an interesting word. Ology often means the study of something. In this case, it's a set of beliefs that we hold to. For political ideology, it's a comprehensive and logically ordered set of beliefs about the nature of people and about the institutions and role of government. It sounds really complicated, but it's actually really simple. Ideology is simply what you think the government should do and how you think it should be set up and how people will react and respond to that. Lots of things can impact political ideology. We had this discussion in class. If you weren't there, that's okay. But we talked about Bernie Sanders, and some of the people in class liked Bernie Sanders, some people didn't like Bernie Sanders. What influences that? Well, one thing is your parents. Your parents are a large influence on your political ideology, especially at your age. Another thing that influences your political ideology is your school system, what you learn, what you're taught by your teachers. Another thing that would influence your ideology is the media. Do you listen to CNN? Do you listen to Fox? Do you read different types of magazines with different political viewpoints? That might influence your political ideology. Other sources of media will do it as well. Music that you listen to can influence your ideology. And lastly, others that you encounter, maybe on the job, maybe at your church, other institutions can also influence your political ideology. Well, we also took a quiz in class that was kind of interesting. It was called the Guess Your Political Ideology. And what we did is we had a bunch of issues that you had, and you ranked them 1 through 5. And this puts you on what we call the political spectrum. There's Mr. Washington crossing the Delaware, and here's the political spectrum. It's composed of a line based on responses and based on degrees. In the middle of the line, people are called moderates. They are generally kind of balanced between those on the right that we call conservatives and those on the left we call liberals. On the right, we have conservatives. Conservatives generally believe that change needs a very strong justification, that change itself, in and of itself, isn't necessarily good. Federal government especially should be small, also at the state level to a certain extent. The government should be limited. Private business should run the show and do most of the distribution of wealth and take care of most of the things that the economy needs to do. Social welfare programs and things like that need to be limited. And it's important also to keep in mind, within the spectrum, there's a great deal of diversity of opinion. Some conservatives would say abolish unemployment and welfare. Others would say no, limit it and make sure it goes to the truly needed and cut down the spending so we can reduce the deficit. Conservatives tend to like order. They distrust radical free speech, although it says on your slide the value order over freedom, which isn't necessarily true when it comes to the Second Amendment. They do believe that individuals should work towards bettering themselves, and they believe in what we would call traditional values. On the left, we have liberals. Liberals advocate for change. They think that economic systems generally don't work well without the government fixing some problems that the systems create. They want active, involved government, large spending on social programs, freedom in the social realm, things like gay marriage and legalization of drugs, and certain drugs anyway, and things like that. And they favor a very active role in the government promoting social equality. There are some extreme views that are held out there by individuals. Past the liberal end of the spectrum, we have radicals. Radicals desire a complete overthrow of society to establish a new utopia generally, and they often use violence to get there. They frequently use violence to get there. An example of this would be ELF, the Earth Liberation Front. Quite recently, they were bigger in the 90s or so. These individuals, eco-terrorists we could call them, they burnt ski lodges, they blew up car dealerships. Their desire was to create a green utopia and to reduce the destruction of the natural resources out west. Now, could this be done through legal means? Yeah, there were individuals who would like to change laws, promote green automobile transportation, reduce global warming, things like that. They're not the radicals. The radicals are the ones that choose violence to overthrow the existing structure of society. The ones proposing more laws would be liberals. Conservatives on the other end would say that there are too many environmental regulations already. It's not necessarily the scope of the federal government to do those things, and it's infringing on the right for business to grow and prosper. There are also those on the extreme right, past the conservative end. We would call those reactionaries. They hold an intense desire for societal change, usually to go back to a glorious state of affairs in the past. Adolf Hitler was a reactionary. He wanted to reestablish German glory and dominance, used a lot of militaristic and nationalistic imagery to try to get the German people to agree with him. The Oklahoma City bombers, using militaristic, violent vision of bringing the United States back to a former glory, reducing the role of the federal government, and reestablish some sort of constitutional republic. Well, there you have it. There's our political spectrum. Let's talk about this chart a little bit. Again, most Americans find themselves somewhere between liberal and conservative, structured around middle left or middle right. Conservatives, Republicans, right. Smaller government, larger role for business, fewer social programs, fiscal or spending restraint. On the left, the far left, liberal. Not all the way to the radical, but the liberal. Democrats involved with more social programs, government spending, promoting equality in society. Moderates, somewhere in between, taking a little of both, often viewed as practical or pragmatic. On the far right, reactionary. Let's bring back the former glory of Germany and the Third Reich, of Franco's Spain, or Italy's Mussolini. Far left, break everything, destroy it, and create a new system. Lenin, the Communist Revolution in Russia and then the Soviet Union.